What can I say? Sometimes it's easier that way. And what can I do?
Let's go this one first.
Okay.
The system is awful. This is White Wolf's Storyteller system, and I know I'm not going to make any fans among you Vampire the Masquerade people. This game system sucks. This is why most of you people LARP instead of roleplay. The system is a clunky mess. I want to talk about Scion and...
I love the world of Scion.
Yeah.
I would call it its spiritual brother, Exalted.
Exalted.
Have amazing worlds. It's almost worth picking up these books just for the setting. I'm going to talk about later, but play a Mutants and Masterminds campaign with this setting. That's my advice.
Yeah, the whole Storyteller system is... I'm not sure how well the second edition is working, because
The one Onyx Road made?
Probably.
Because I believe Onyx Road bought out White Wolf Entertainment.
But yeah, I know there's been some people talking about the Scion second edition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it's any different from the new White Wolf system.
I haven't played the new Scion. I want to get the new Scion books, but...
Because yeah, I think there's a whole... They essentially did a... Scion, Vampire, Exalted... All of these fall under the exact same system, basically.
Mm-hmm.
They're just different campaign settings.
Mm-hmm.
They do tend to have a lot more different rules than campaign settings used to.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how the Storyteller version 2 system actually works.
I'm not either. But
All I'm familiar with is the Storyteller version 1.
This, and I played an Exalted campaign online for a couple of posts before it fizzled out like most of them do. But even the Exalted and the World of Darkness ones, World of Darkness core isn't bad, but Vampire, Werewolf, Mage scale is so crazy that you end up getting two characters who have physical focused and they take care of all the combat. And all the other four members of your party just sit and watch them roll. You have two characters that are just so good at social interactions that anytime you're talking to somebody, they're doing stuff, and the other four characters are just... It's almost like playing 3 separate campaigns at once and having your friend sit and watch you until it's their turn to play. It is essentially split the party the game.
It might be a good system to play if you do your games at a buffet.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Because, you guys are taking your turns. We're going to go eat.
Yeah.
But yeah, the world, even I'm not a fan of World of Darkness. It's a little emo for my taste. Mm-hmm. But I can't deny that the world is a very rich, detailed world. White Wolf campaigns are... You might as well just call these setting books.
Yeah.
Just use the settings in them instead of the actual dice making. Like I said, that's why LARPers...
Mm-hmm.
I think you can sell imagination.
I mean, people buy settings for D&D.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have L5R in there?
I actually don't have a physical copy of... I have the 3rd edition L5R, but I didn't stack them in there because the 3rd edition is just the 3rd edition Japan flavored. It's like rice flavored D&D.
Yeah, I think it's because... didn't they, license the thing for it?
No, they just used the OGL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I was asking about was Legend of Five Rings, speaking of system.
Yeah.
Speaking of interesting campaign settings. I like the campaign setting of Legend of Five Rings. And the mechanics of the one we played.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about any of the other mechanics of the other editions of it. Like you said, the 3rd edition L5R is...
We played the... I don't know what edition it is in L5R's genealogy, but it was one that came directly after the D20 L5R's one we played. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
It is... Too. You know what it is? It, to me, reminds me of a streamlined version of the Storyteller. Because it still used the D10 dice pool. Mm-hmm. But it didn't have these insane discrepancies that White Wolf's Storyteller system had. I mean, obviously, the samurai are going to handle most of your combat, but as a Shugenja or a ninja, you don't feel completely out of place in such a situation.
Yeah.
Even couriers have some bardic abilities to like talk up or down people.
Wasn't it? Am I thinking of Deadlands that drew cards instead of rolling dice?
Yes, that would be from the Savage Worlds set. We built Deadland characters, never played.
Yeah.
I want to play Deadlands. I want to play Savage Worlds, but I can't find very many people who play Savage Worlds. And with our group, we only have so much time to play with.
Talk about selling settings. Savage Worlds was, yes, this universal system just put settings in that place.
Oh yeah, they had dozens of settings. I have a pirate theme setting for Savage Worlds. Wanted to get the Savage Worlds of Solomon Kane, but I'm not sure that's even in print anymore. It's like a Doc Savage, Alan Quartermain style. Oh man, when you talk about L5R, it made me think of something and I forgot what it was. Oh well, it doesn't matter. I haven't actually played this one, but it's a cute little system. It's a My Little Pony role-playing game. It's meant for children, so it is insanely simplistic. You have 3 stats, and you get a dice based on that stat. And then there's a couple of feats you pick from, like unicorns get telekinesis, and earth ponies get stout heart. I forget what that does. And Pegasuses can fly.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a hyper simple system. Because it's My Little Pony. It's obviously meant that 6-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds can be able to play this game with their parents. And it wasn't that expensive. $35. I mean, it's what you're going to pay for any other role-playing game.
Don't you know that friendship is the most fun of all?
Friendship is the most fun of all.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this game has an interesting mechanic of you actually get penalized for combat.
Yeah, because you're trying to avoid it if possible.
Because
Kind of other non-violent solutions.
exactly. So there you go. It also teaches good messages that you don't only get experience from caving in goblin heads. I'm actually gonna save this one because I want to talk about that one later.
Oh, I see a classic. But we'll get the the 2 classics.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the 2 big counterpoints to D&D.
GURPS and riffs.
Yep. Riffs had the Palladium role-playing game. Covers kind of built on cheap paper, but these are 2 I haven't played, but I really want to play Palladium. Palladium is a very simple percentage-based system. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
It's got, and it's Riffs has another one of those ones where it's got a number of campaign settings because a huge point of Riffs is the multiverse. There's Riffs. They're ley lines that connect the multiverse. So even in a fantasy setting like this, you end up, the DM or even a player could end up with a robot, or the player end up with a laser pistol, and it wouldn't feel necessarily out of place, or you could just play one of the systems standalone.
Is that the one that Rift Wars came from?
Yes. I won't ever play this because I don't like math that much.
GURPS was insane.
I have read the rulebook cover to cover, and some of these equations have just made me... I like math. I don't like math this much.
There was a joke from Murphy's Rules, one of the Jackson game people who make those. But they had a joke of the most complicated game system ever. GURPS Riffs. Or Riffs GURPS. It was one of the 2.
Yeah.
But it was just a combination of the 2. And it had this picture of this person with tons of stacks of books. And it just was labeled, and the stack was labeled Basic Rules.
Yeah. People who make GURPS likes math more than they like playing. I can tell you that. But this GURPS, there are so many campaign settings. Once again, it's almost worth buying just for the campaign settings.
Or just honoring your gaming history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, obviously, these books are kind of expensive.
Oh, they knocked on themselves because that's Steve Jackson Games is also.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was Steve Jackson Games.
I did not know that.
But sometimes if you're interested, especially people who want to design, games like this are an interesting thing because it's a good example of how trying to incorporate everything realistically into your mechanics isn't necessarily a good idea. So again, I'll point back to Danger Patrol. It just simplifies everything. You throw it together, you get your character sheets, and you just play, and you don't worry about vehicle on vehicle chasing and technology ratings and just combat. I have to go back to 3rd edition and Pathfinder. Flanking rules are the worst. The conga line of death.
Stab you in the back.
They make sense essentially, but they.
I rather just have gang up rules.
Yeah.
Where
Your focus is split because there's two or more people on you.
Exactly.
Again, a system that just popped into my head. We've never played.
Mm-hmm.
If you like Gundam or old anime like Gundam, good system I've heard for it is called Neptune Zeta. Which I've given you guys the rule books.
Yes, I have the rule books. I'll tell you the thing about Neptune Zeta. I actually like the background creation.
Yes.
If you're somebody who's planning on writing, get to the Neptune Zeta background creation and just roll on those charts to just give yourself a writing challenge of writing this character's background.
Yes. Start rolling on those charts.
And I mean, I know, and of course, obviously, if you team wants to, you can pick, but I kind of like in some ways rolling for backgrounds because it kind of forces players out of their comfort zone, because you can get players who just play the same character, campaign after campaign after campaign after campaign. Generally, if we play a new fantasy campaign, I go to Avilios because I've been playing it since I started playing Dungeons & Dragons, and I naturally know how the character is going to act. I don't have to worry about role-playing, I can worry on mechanics, but games I'm comfortable with, like we've played Pathfinder, and I've played, the world's greatest air pirate, Drake Rose, and my friend Nick's Eberron campaign, I played a Soul Knife Paladin. He was a Soul Knife, but he was a Paladin, because my friend Nick let me do that with his campaigns. I played D&Ds that are such strict sticklers for, this is your class, this is what you are. My character, he was a Soul Knife, but he was convinced a Psychic Blade, Psylocke, but he was convinced that his Psychic Blade was divine and not psychic. And my friend Nick let me do that, but I've played with DMs who are like, no, you're a Soul Knife, you have blood psychic, blah, 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 blah,
I will
blah,
not
blah,
be defined by my class.
Yeah. What are you? Chaotic, was it Chaotic Neutral Ranger with some Halfling Ranger, some Lovelorn Barbarian?
What are
So
you?
you just a class, race, alignment combination? Come on. No.
Who are you?
I am a sexy, shoeless god of war.
I love that exchange from Order of the Stick.
Yes. Was his name Belcar?
Belcar
Yes.
Bitterleaf, yes.
Other systems we have that you guys might want to talk about, we've played a little of, are the Final Fantasy system.
I was actually going to get into that later, but let's go and talk about it. Final Fantasy D6. I don't know if the edition we played is even still available online. It's gone through some updates. There was an edition right before the system radically changed, where the stats turned into body, mind, force, and resilience. The one we played. Honestly, it's probably one of my favorite systems. There were some balancing issues. The time mage was a little OP, but...
It allowed me to actually build campaigns pretty easy when I was running it for a while. Encounters were super easy when I didn't have to worry about everybody's movement, because they set things up in rows just like a Final Fantasy thing. And I played enough Final Fantasy to know how certain enemy matchups would be.
Mm-hmm.
I had an encounter you guys didn't do because I dropped the campaign before, where something I encountered in Final Fantasy I was going to throw at you guys, where I had the boss was going to constantly be resummoning these like minions, and as long as the minions were out, they were going to cover and shield for the boss. It's like, that's annoying, but I've encountered that. And I know how to recreate it in the system.
And of course, there are ways to get around it. Ranged weapons would probably bypass the minion shields and area of effect spells, things like that.
Yeah.
The other thing I like is the game very, very, very much encouraged stunts. You always got bonuses if you did crazy stunts. Scion does the same too, but yeah, if you went out of your way to make a crazy stunt, you got a bonus to your dice rolls. And it was so me and my brother just came up with as many insane tag teams as we could with our characters.
That was fun.
It was a blast.
I remember one time when we were flanked, so my ranger character, I had run up the wall to actually get a flanking on the other end. Because she could.
Mm.
And again, it was a stunt, and she got to fire and do it, and she got bonuses for doing it, and yeah, it helped us out, because the other guy couldn't concentrate on just getting back attacks on us.
Two systems I want to talk about. I don't have the rule books with me. The one I never had a physical copy, but I think our friend Justin did. The other one, the physical copy, is at my brother's house. Spycraft and D20 Modern.
Oh, yeah. Those were not bad.
Yeah, they were fun, but they very much showcased that the D20 system was not meant for predominantly ranged combat. Combat with guns in those systems were so awkward.
Yeah.
But they were fun. Spycraft especially was a fun system.
Well, Spycraft was heavily focused on skills rather than
yes.
Oh,
combat.
I had so much fun on the ridiculousness in that one mission, especially.
That one mission was insane.
Buongiorno!
Roll your stat.
Oh my god, he's Brad Pitt. Yeah, this giant Texan with a bazooka
Yeah.
is Brad Pitt.
I remember we were robbing the bank and busted into the bank, and we got what we were after, but ended up getting caught. So was it Tony and Sean maybe?
I know my character got caught.
Might have been your character. But we
She was in a police car.
yes, so my character, who was the driver, the wheelman, just took the armored car, because we were robbing a bank and we were pretending to be doing a transfer. And so my character had purchased with his skill, whatever, buying power, an armored car. So we just decided I was just going to battering ram the police car with our armored car and get out. Luckily, our friend Tony was one of the ones in the car, so, I've never seen a man roll 20s more often in my life.
Tony had the devil's own luck.
Oh, man. I've literally never seen anybody who could roll more 20s than that man. And he wasn't cheating. He didn't do the drop. He didn't do the roll and scoop. He didn't do the hot. He rolled out nothing.
He legitimately was that lucky all the time.
And
I couldn't explain it.
Whatever dice.
Whatever dice. He, for a long time, didn't even have his own dice. He borrowed dice at the table, and he would just roll 20s all the time.
He'd steal our 20s.
I've only seen one person roll 3 20s in a row.
Yeah.
And that was my friend. 3 20s boss fight. We were doing a variant roll where if you critical confirmed, you rolled another 20 to see if it was an insta-kill. And I guess, what are the odds? Like, less than 1%. He did it. He one-shotted one of my bosses because he's just 20.
And something that rare is like, you gotta honor
20.
something like that.
You win, Tony. Splat. Anyway, yes, that was Spycraft. I guess since we're on the more futuristic stuff, Josh has my Shadowrun book.
Shadowrun.
We played it a couple times.
Does it work like the old BattleTech game with the like 2d6 and stuff like that?
D6 pools. This one uses
Oh,
a
it's a
pool
pool
of
of
D6.
D6s. Okay. Alright.
It's not a bad system, but character creation can be a little awkward.
This
honestly.
is another case of the setting is possibly more interesting than the game itself.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, they have preset characters in here. If I can find them. Yeah, they have preset characters. If you use the preset characters, which I don't like to use preset characters because I don't want to be told what to do. But
Yeah.
if you use the preset characters, it's actually not a bad system. It basically just, you know, oh, I want to use an automatic gun. I roll three 6-sided dice.
I think there's a video game coming out with this system as its basis.
Another Shadowrun game?
This is old. I don't know if they have. This is 4th edition. I don't know if they have a more recent edition or not.
But well, at least it's the campaign setting for the the setting for the video game. It's literally called Shadowrun, if I remember right.
Probably.
And it is the setting.
They've had Shadowrun game. This Shadowrun action role-playing game for the Super Nintendo. That game, emulate it. It is an amazing game. It's just awesome. Play it.
This is post-apocalyptic. Well,
Not
not
really.
apocalyptic.
It's cyberpunk. It's a combination of cyberpunk and spellpunk.
Yeah, because it's like the old fantasy races like return to the world.
Like magic on Earth comes in cycles. So like we had a fantasy era on Earth, and then the fantasy era went away, and it became mundane. And then all of a sudden, fantasy came back. People just were like spontaneously turned into dwarves and elves and orcs and trolls, and dragons just reappeared and became the CEOs of mega corporations because
I don't know why I keep wanting to say post-apocalyptic. No, this is dystopian.
Yeah, it's
Dystopian cyberpunk.
it's cyberpunk. It is full on cyberpunk.
But with fantasy elements that make it really neat.
Yeah. I like because I love the idea that dragons are in megacorps because it is this natural evolution of the dragon's horde.
Yeah,
It's
they
like-
own all the money.
Yeah, it's like they don't have giant hordes of gold anymore. They have mega corporations that take
They're
all
still
the
sitting on their gold.
Exactly.
They're sitting on their gold because they're on the top level of all these expensive skyscrapers.
Hey, you want to talk about post-apocalyptic? I don't have the book here. I'm pretty sure that one's at my brother's too. You ever played All Flesh Must Be Eaten?
No, but I've heard about it a lot.
We played a campaign. It was it was a one-shot I played, like 2 nights, 3 nights, so you might not have been there for those. But yeah, it's a fun game. It's very limited in options, but it's a zombie apocalypse game, and it is... it's kind of a simple game. It uses a 1d10, and... I don't know... I would suggest it for a short... I wouldn't suggest it for a long-term campaign. But if you want to run a nice zombie apocalypse one-shot, I would suggest All Flesh Must Be Eaten. I think the core book was only like $20 when I bought it. It wasn't that expensive.